everyone. Welcome back to the Mama Genius Hub podcast. I am so excited to have Mellissa on today. I was in her challenge learning about how to make quizzes, and her light and just the way she puts her energy into her business and the creation of all it just made me go, will you be on the podcast? Welcome to the Mama Genius Hub podcast, where we support moms with big dreams from entrepreneurship to personal aspirations. I'm your host, Michelle DeKaiser, and I'm here to help you unlock your potential in all areas of life. Join us as we explore strategies for thriving in motherhood while pursuing the dreams, the key to actually unlocking your genius. Subscribe now and embark on a journey to realize your fullest potential, because moms need your message. And so I'm just going to go ahead and introduce her. Mellissa Seaman is a business strategist, intuitive channel, world-renowned retreat leader, sought-after media speaker, and we got her, and host of Channel Your Genius podcast. A Stanford-educated former business lawyer, she bridges the worlds of business strategy and intuitive development. We need that to guide professional women in their midlives to clarify their deepest purpose, do business with their heart. Do you hear that? Do it with their heart and ease, and step into the new level of leadership as what she calls professional wise women. Mellissa has guided clients to $6 million windfalls, creating fun business quizzes that go viral, and new careers that integrate their intuitive gifts without losing respect, relationships, or revenue. Oh my gosh, we're so excited to have you on today, Mellissa. Welcome.
Yay, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me here, Michelle.
I just was so taken with your work, your challenge and stuff. I almost took her course, but it just didn't work out with where I was at. But I was just like, the world needs her message, and just the way you're just so intuitive about the way you explain everything. And I was like, I need to invite her onto the podcast. And so I just want to dive right in and tell us your why behind what you do.
Yeah, so my why is that I really see how wise women, which is a lot of women, but also as we grow a little older and our kids get a little older, and we really get wiser and wiser through through everything we have to make it through. I feel like wise women are one of like the greatest semi-tapped resources on the planet right now. And I say semi-resourced because a lot of times as mamas, as women, we have to go into kind of servant mode by necessity for a while with kids. We have to focus and orbit around our kids. We have to orbit around our partnerships, we have to become nurturing. Servant is kind of a strong word for it, but I don't think I'm alone in feeling it. So we really put ourselves in service to the family. And underneath all of that, though, we have our own intrinsic gifts of the soul. And a lot of us, I know I included, when I was raising my kids, I kind of felt like, okay, it's a balance between my soul's gifts, my uniqueness, my specialness, what I'm really here to do in the greater world, and being a mom, making sure that my kids have what they need, that they don't jump off of cliffs, or if they're short cliffs, and make sure they're fed and bathed, all that stuff it sounds kind of easy to people who aren't doing it. And then they do it and they're like, holy crap, this is really hard. And so my mission is to lift up wise women into our intrinsic soul gifts. And a lot of times for mamas, this happens when the kids are like teenagers. They start to pull away, and which is what they're supposed to do, and create some independence. And we kind of are left reeling like, okay, wait, what am I about again? Like, now the kids are becoming all about themselves. Who am I? Where did I, wait a minute, where did I put me? I got to go find myself. And so that's what I do, through my soul gift quiz and through my wise woman pathfinder and different things that I have. It's really to help us wise women when it's time to step even further into what we're here to do, outside of all the caretaking. Not outside, because it's actually just a different form of nurturing the world, but when we're ready to see our individual core gifts and to step onto our unique individual path, boom, that's my sweet spot, is to support women who are there, because I have a map for that, especially if part of their path is intuitive. And sometimes that intuitive bit is very different from where they came from. Like for me, Stanford educated, lawyer, Catholic, like I was very used to my systems and my boxes and all the things. And then kapow, like having a big intuitive awakening shook me. It shook my family. It shook my parenting. It shook everything. And it forced me, maybe a little early, to look at, wait a minute, I have a unique gift and I need to bring it to the world. How can I do that and still be a parent? How can I do that and not just kind of trash my my reputation, my life, my relationship? Like it's a powerful path when you have a big intuitive awakening and the guidance to step into your core gifts. And it can help to have a mentor and a map for that moment.
I love that so much, because I think exactly what this group is all about. I mean, this podcast is about that genius inside the moms, and you put a core gift like that what we already have inside of us, but we put these layers on top of it. And at some point it starts to like come forth, but then how do you rectify that coming forth with where you're at right now? Like you said, the Stanford education versus the intuitive, like how do you merge those two? So how did that work for you?
It worked over time because I didn't really have a framework for the whole intuitive thing. I hadn't really believed in psychic-y stuff before. And then all of a sudden these things are happening to me and inside of me. And I was like, whoa. And it felt natural and it felt right. And it felt like the God I'd always known, but it was also so outside the box that it was really hard on my parents, really pretty hard on my marriage. And it just shook me because my social structures were all built on my life as a Catholic, and the intuitive stuff and spirit guides and more shamanic awareness was just not, there wasn't really a space for that there. I didn't feel horribly judged or rejected. I just felt like people were like, huh, there was just not really room for that. And it wasn't until I found my mentor, who's my indigenous mama, Maria Yesbrew, of the Tilshtayan Kira Apache tradition. And she was like, oh no, Mellissa, this is actually what's normal, is for us to have both our logical mind and our intuitive mind. And she's like, where I grew up on the White Mountains Reservation, living with my grandfather, being trained by him in more energy aware ways. She's like, we would have been worried about you if you weren't hearing voices. We want you to hear voices. We also want you to have your own choices. So it was definitely it was definitely a challenging time, where I kind of had to rearrange and find myself. And there's a thing that happens there where you wake up to some of your special abilities and stuff, and it's easy to, like I got a little impossible, to be perfectly honest. I went into a bit of like a second puberty and was like, well, I have all these gifts now, and if you can't see it, like that kind of 13-year-old. Oh, and that's a big part of why my parents had such a hard time, because I got really kind of impossible. And my truth was, just like it is for our teenagers, like I was scared. I was scared of losing people's love. I was scared of not being understood and accepted and honored. And I'd been a straight A student valedictorian. I was really used to being the good girl and the lauded one and the one who did all the right stuff. And so it was scary. Underneath, what I realize now is it was really scary for me to be in this whole new world with a whole new set of ways and systems, and to have the people who'd always told me I was a good girl suddenly going, are you sure you don't need to go on like medication of some kind? So it was tricky. My mentors got me through it. I was, really blessed and lucky to meet Maria and to do ceremony with her and to learn how ceremony and natural cycles and all these things are just really natural to us, and that we don't need to make it some big deal or what she called shamanic party tricks. We don't need to be like, now I'm special and like dress up in silks and crowns and, make it a big dramatic thing. And that really helped me know that I didn't have to do that, because yeah, I've always been a pragmatist. And even now, as I'm teaching intuitive women how to step into their gifts and how to create businesses from their gifts, the proof is in the pudding. Like, does the result make you a better parent? Does the result make you a better person? Does the result make you more successful, make you a better business person? Does the result have long-lasting positive effects in the world? Because if there's no proof in the pudding, then toss it out. I'm not really into escapist spirituality or kind of self-aggrandizing spiritual paths of focusing on what a fantastic priestess I am, and it's like, well, that's cool, but what are we doing? What's the product? What's the result? What's look at the wake behind you. Is it a wake of drama, or is it a wake of empowerment?
Yes.
Like, so yeah.
I love that so much. And just the way you put that in, and even how you were saying how you found your person to help you figure out what was going on. I feel that that's where this comes in, and why I even want to do this podcast, so that we have more awareness of looking for that teacher, whoever that teacher is meant for you, whether it's this or something else. But once you have that awakeness and that awareness, it's true, the teacher will appear if you're open to it. And I think sometimes, though, I feel like we close ourselves off, thinking like, now we just need to hide whatever this was inside of us. But I think it's finding the right person to help you explore it and see what it means. Like you said, is it a wake of drama or empowerment? So it depends on how you go in that direction. Find the right person, help you make it that lane of empowerment rather than drama. As you were talking about the child, being the teenager again, and that awakening, and just how do you assess all this together? I felt like I've gone through a lot of that just in terms of the last couple of years with like you said, with your relationship with your husband and things like that. I felt a lot of similarities that you were describing, just some of that awakening and trying to adjust, like with the outside people, how they saw you, and now what you're trying to become, and rectifying those two together makes it challenging. But when you have the guidance and the support of community around you, makes that come forth more.
Yeah, and an understanding of your own gifts. So if I could go back in time, right, which is of course the ultimate fantasy, like go back in time knowing everything I know now, but seriously, if I could go back in time, and I feel like helping other women is kind of my way of going back in time, but I would have known better how to express and explain and describe what was really happening with me, and I wouldn't have had to create so much drama with it. Like, I had a lot of assumptions. Looking back, I had a lot of assumptions. Well, I'm hearing spirit guides now, my parents won't like me. And so then you enter then I entered that, I show you my way is better than your way, and you guys just don't know. And and now when I work with people that I mentor for, I help them actually just find the words to describe what's happening that don't freak everybody else out. Because the truth is, even whatever my most involved Catholic friends, now that I'm able to describe what was happening, they're like, oh, that's so amazing. That's so rad. God is so great. And I'm like, yeah, right. I wish I'd been able to have this conversation with you. I wish I'd had the confidence and the knowing and the map back then. I could have said, oh, I'm at this stage of awakening to these gifts, and we all have these gifts, and call them what you will. And I'm just using a different language now to describe the gifts that we all actually have. Isn't that cool? Like, now I'm not saying that you can just rectify years of dogmatic training within a system like the Catholic Church. And I was never that crazy about the embedded misogyny. And like, there's a bunch of things that I was never that crazy about with the Catholic Church, but it was my community. And now what I've learned, and I'm like 50, I'm 55. Like, now I've learned a few things and I've humbled a lot. And I'm like, oh, I just didn't really know how to talk about it. And that's where it comes in handy, to have the words for your gifts, to be able to express them to people without making other people wrong, without creating separation. um, and so that's part of what I do. And actually that's a big part of what marketing is to be able to describe your deepest gifts of the business that you're bringing, the service that you're bringing, the work that you're doing, to a marketplace, to a community, a wide community, in a way that everyone goes, oh, that's who you're for. That's what you do. Oh, I have friends who need you. Wait, let me set you up. Instead of like, oh, well, you used to do something that made sense, and now you're doing something spiritual and confusing and weird, and you sound pretty hot on yourself about it. Okay, I'm not sure how to connect with you anymore.
Attention mompreneurs. Do you feel like you're constantly juggling the responsibilities without a moment to yourself? It's time to pause and reflect with our Mama Genius quiz. Tailored for busy mamas like you, this quiz will help you identify what's blocking your path and inspire you to harness your unique strengths, transform how you manage life and business, find your rhythm, and ignite your joy. Visit mamageniushub.com today to discover your Mama Genius. Again, that's mamageniushub.com. You brought up so much. I spent my first 12 years of school at Catholic school as well. So I understand the
Oh, wow,
the
you
dogma
too.
behind all of it, and the beliefs and just everything that goes with that. But now I want to kind of like jump to more the practicalities. We've talked a lot about your why and stuff, but what are some of these ideas of how to express this in a light that people can understand more?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the easiest thing to do, is it? We
No.
struggle with it on our own. And so I've actually developed a system for it, because that's part of what law school gave me, and the whole brain thing. It's really worked out to put systems for things that are otherwise really hard to grok. And, I think you've taken my soul gift quiz, and the soul gift quiz is kind of the first place that I have people go to determine what their specific soul gift type is. So, if you learn by taking the soul gift quiz that you are a transmitter, right? Which is, I think maybe, I can't remember, are you a transmitter or creator?
Messenger.
Messenger. Okay, that me too. So if you learn from taking the soul gift quiz, let's start with messenger because that's yours, and I'll describe the other ones. But like, if you learn that, you're like, oh, I'm here to speak and share and transmit wisdom. I'm here to have a podcast. I'm here to teach classes. I'm here to basically be a translator of wisdom into the world. And that's you and me. When you learn that, you're like, okay, that's why I might grow impatient with my kid. Like Colin is a researcher type. Researcher types are the ones who are here to be witnesses and learn and take it all in, and they're very clear. They don't get emotionally like crazy like the rest of us. And Colin, my son, is a researcher type, and his favorite book as a kid was 1001, like, what was it, how things work, 1001 machines and how they work. And that's the book I had to read to him every night as a kid. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? So the steam engine was invented in 18 blah, blah, blah. I was just like, oh my gosh. And some things about parenting, like systems orientations and, strict deadlines for, times of feeding. And I just couldn't even deal because I'm a messenger with a transmitter secondary. There is no creator. There's no researcher in me. I'm not into systems. So when you know what your core is, it's so much easier to be able to then express it to other people. Let's say you're a transmitter. Transmitter type is the hardest to understand. Transmitter types are the souls that came here to emanate a certain divine energy, like to literally emanate healing juju. They're not here to message. They're not here to build things like a creator. They're not here to study things like a researcher. They're just here to beam a certain light. And these are the moms that are just like these magical, sensitive beings who, when they're in a good place, they light up the room. They just like everybody finds them magnetic, and the kids just want to be near mom. They're so magnetic and yummy. But if they're off, if they didn't get good sleep, if they didn't drink enough water, like they're very sensitive beings, they can be really miserable and they don't know why, because they're really energy beings more than any of the other types. They're very sensitive and very energy oriented. So when you know that, you can explain that. And when you can tell your husband, like, hey, no, you don't understand. I need to get 8 hours of sleep or I am a train wreck. Like, well, I can get by on 6 hours. Yeah, honey, I know. That's great. You're not a transmitter. Mama's a transmitter. Mama needs her green juice. Mama needs her yoga. Like, or I'm a wreck. So some of these things, knowing your soul gift type, just for starters, is like, okay, now I have a framework to have the conversation. And it was really amazing for me to have my kids take the quiz. I created the quiz when my kids were like early teens, and now they're in their 20s. What? And actually, I had assumed that Colin was a messenger like me because he's very eloquent. He's always been the Sagittarius, like standing on the coffee table. Everyone, I have a renouncement, he used to say. It was so cute. And so I thought, oh, he's a messenger. Of course, he's a messenger. And I'm like, Colin, take my quiz. This new quiz I made. I'm pretty sure a messenger. He takes the quiz and he comes back to me. He's like, Mom, I'm totally a researcher. I'm totally a researcher. And I was like, oh, crap, you are. Oh, crap, you are. I'm sorry. I just assumed you were like me, which is what we as parents do. And we had this big opening in that moment because I was like, oh, you're a researcher. Of course you're a researcher. That's why you need your like quiet time. That's why you go disappear into your computer sometimes. That's why you see things the way you do. That's why you're constantly in your head redesigning the way all the traffic lights in our neighborhood should be working. Like, it's your researcher. Like, oh my God. So it's a beautiful thing for us to notice our individuality when as moms we're so trained to just be like enmeshed so that we can take care of everyone, notice everyone all the time. When we actually are also able to separate out and go, oh yeah, I'm different. I forgot I'm different and I need different things and I'm oriented in different ways. And so that's where I start the soul gift quiz, and it's free. You guys can take it. I'm sure there will be a link here,
Yes,
soulgiftquiz.com. And from there, I then can also help people build their business based in the right direction. You know what I mean? It's just the starting place. I have another process and more quizzes and like stuff. So you identify, this is who I am. This is how I describe it. This is what I can do without efforting so hard. Because if you force yourself to work against your gift and like pretend you're a systems person, which is what the creator type is, when you're actually a messenger or a transmitter, it hurts and it's hard.
Agreed.
Right? Yeah.
I think that's us trying to like, especially when you're starting out your business, you're like, let me take this course, let me do this. And you're like, oh, I need to do it like they're telling me to do it. And then like you try so hard. That was actually how I even got into podcasting, was that I wanted to create a blog. And I started a blog, no one was reading it. I went to go, okay, well, I'm not doing SEO right, so I need to go fix that. I hired someone to help me with that. And next thing I knew, I like, let me put a deadline on myself. And so I put a deadline of November 12th on myself. And I'm like, it was actually my birthday of October 25th. And I got up a meeting with him, hadn't talked to him once, thinking, okay, I just need a couple of answers from him and I'll be ready to go and get this blog up and running. Well, what I had been doing was interviewing people, trying to turn those transcripts into a blog, when all of a sudden I was like, why am I not doing a podcast?
Right.
And he kept telling me, in 3 months, you need to get 50 blogs up and running, right? That number kept being in my head. I didn't even realize it, but come March of next year, it was 4 months, but I had 50 episodes published.
Wow, cool.
In 4 months, which I still had that number 50. Didn't even realize it. Didn't even like it's there, but like until you like release all this stuff and figure out what you're supposed to be doing, like it's so hard.
Yeah.
Couldn't even do one blog in 1 year, but on that format.
I hear you. Yep.
And it's just it's interesting how, but I think that's where your guidance or coming into a different coach or having actually that conversation with them, not just trying to do the way someone does it, but seeing the way they do it, does that work for me? And always having that question and that framework
Mm-hmm.
when you're taking someone else's course or anything, just not always saying this has to be done this way. Because I think that's when we lock ourselves in.
Yeah. And there's a cool distinction that I've been really dropping into recently between what's a coach, what's a mentor, what's a teacher,
Ooh, I
because
love
we
that.
tend to get them really mixed up. But there's a very distinct difference between a coach, a mentor, and a teacher. And some people serve as both. Like for me, I'm often doing mentoring and teaching in my programs. On occasion, I'll be coaching, but they're three very different things. So a coach, when you're being coached, it's that person is very responsive to what you're saying. So they're as a coach, I'm listening, I'm holding space, and I'm reflecting back what you say you want, and I'm encouraging you to go for what you want. And I'm kind of like giving you maybe a couple of ideas, but I'm not really putting much in you. I'm really reflecting you. And then as a mentor, I'm guiding you. I'm holding that space, but I'm also giving you a new framework like that's empowering for you, but it's really for you. It's like I'm showing you your path, right? I'm helping you co-create your path forward. I'm encouraging and I'm guiding you along the way. A teacher has a system that they're teaching you. And so it can get confusing for people because if you walk into like most business coaching programs, there's a system and it's often kind of specific based on what that teacher has done in their own business. And they're like, well, first you do this, then this, then this, then this, because that's what they did in their business. And that can be super useful if you're the same type as that teacher with a similar product in a similar way and a similar personality. If you're a mentor, you have to have a much wider frame of knowledge and experience because and this is where like my law background really kind of comes in handy because I was working with women business owners as a lawyer 25 years ago. So I know a lot of different ways to go about doing business because I worked with brick and mortar businesses, service businesses, lots of different businesses. So as a mentor, I'm able to go, well, yeah, I have this framework to help you understand your path, but I also am going to show you how you should build your business to fit you, not me, you. Coaching doesn't usually show you a framework. It's more like, I'm here to help. I'm here to follow you with whatever framework you've already chosen. I'm going to support you. So this is another, like, it's cool to kind of remember these distinctions so that as you're going for what you want, you can get what you want instead of, instead of feeling like you're stepping into something that's not a fit for you.
I love that so much. I love that you brought out those distinctions between the three to remind us of that. I don't know if I should put this generalization out, but this is just screaming from my head. But like, honestly, the male programs that I've joined, a lot of them have that teacher framework and they're very rigid in like, well, you need to do it this way.
Yeah.
And what I love when I work with women business leaders in just how you said, it's more of a mentorship because they're like lighting up the path versus saying you have to just go this direction. And I just see the distinctions and it's a complete generalization, not saying that's true of all people, but that's just from my experience that I've had along the way so far. But I feel like that's that feminine energy starting to really come up to the surface. And what all this is about is us working together and getting rid of that idea of the glass ceiling, because it's more when we work together and lift each other up that beauty just happens with all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, there's times where you want a teacher.
Yes.
There's times where you're like, I need to learn this framework. I want to learn this framework. This framework really fits me. I'm going to go train in this system. That's a teacher. You need a teacher for that. There's times when you need a coach. I don't want anybody to tell me what I should do. Just want somebody to support me while I do what I want to do. And then there's times where you want a mentor, where you're like, oh, there's so many systems and so many frameworks. And what I need is someone to help guide me on my own path, someone who's got the wisdom of a lot of different things, who can help me find my own path through it.
I
Then
love that
that's
so
more of a
much.
mentor. So it's cool to have all three, in my opinion.
Yes.
I like to
No, I
have all
agree.
three in my life at all times. but
I like though how you put that to like
yeah,
start actually making those association with what do I need and what do I feel this person is, so that you know, and you're making those choices as whatever program you want to pay for or buy. But like that's part of your decision framework, is having those
that's
distinctions in place. I really appreciate you bringing out and reminding us of those different definitions. So on that note, we're going to dive into our 5 questions for you. So
okay.
Have you ever been afraid to raise your hand in class or apply for the school play? I know I have, but not since I've joined the Speak Feed Lead project. The Speak Feed Lead project is now going to Tanzania to help the youth there get their voice heard. We need your help to give a donation. Any donation counts. If it's $5 or $100, any donation will help us be able to inspire the youth and change their lives and give them the power they need to speak from their hearts and give them their voice.
as we ask for a donation for this project, we also want to pass that voice and message along to you, as well as bringing more connection to your family. And so we want to provide a guide for you to bring meaningful connections between you and your kids, what we call a morning circle. And it inspires you to go through and really conversate with your kids in a 5 to 10 minute fashion that really starts to bring deep conversations. We provide the directions for how to do it, along with the cards you can print yourself and create the deep questions such as, what does it mean to be yourself? And you'll be surprised as you go around doing this process, how it starts to just naturally start to open up more and more conversations, even throughout the day. So we want to bring the voice to everyone. All we request is for a donation to our Tanzania project, and we will send you the details to how to make your own circles and get your own cards as well. So please click the link below and make the donation that you feel comfortable with, and we will send these materials to you. Thing 1 for you is either what podcast or resource has helped you manage as a busy mom and a business owner?
Well, I mean, let me answer that clearly. I have to say I'm really liking Jill Wright's work. She has a pretty great podcast. It's called Grow Like a Mother. It's called Grow Like a Mother. And what's so great about Jill Wright's work is she's really into time management, and she's got these simple tools for time management for moms that are like clear. You know what I mean? So check her out. Check her out. Jill Wright, Grow Like a Mother podcast.
I love that so much. Number 2 leads into what kind of fun activities really help you bring out the genius in your house and just the joy of it and keeping everyone happy or organized, or however you want to take that question.
Honestly, it was singing in the car. Every time we were in the car, we would sing together, and we still do it. Like if I go on a road trip with my grown kid, we will sing show tunes or whatever. Like we will just make up songs, but singing in the car is totally key.
I love that so much. Every morning, my daughter and I, most mornings we sing to It's Gonna Be an Awesome Day by Jack Hartman. And
oh, fun. That's
plays
great.
automatically on Alexa, like at 8:10 every morning. So even if we miss it or what, it's just at least playing through the house.
I love that.
So it's so much fun. Music just can open up so many pathways and just find what works for you. Number 3. So this is this idea of busyness. I feel like moms put on themselves. We always say, how are you? I'm so busy, blah, blah, blah. And I want to help. I've struggled with that so much. I just want to help redefine that. And I've just gotten so many wonderful answers in different ways and perspectives. And so pretty much however you want to take that question, but it's really that language is so important. How do we redefine that a little bit?
How do we redefine busy?
Just the idea of always saying that I'm busy, or that and the concept of that we're always having to do to say what we're doing instead of like how we feel, or however you want to take that.
Yeah. I used to have a little bit of like a reporting thing that I would use with my husband. because he would come home from work and he would often say, well, what did you do today? And I would be like, your children are alive. That's what I did today. You know what I mean? And he was an
Yes.
engineer and he really liked to know the details and stuff. And so we picked up on a thing that I used actually in a Catholic movement, which was like, what was your moment where you felt closest to God today? What was your moment where you learned something today? And what was your moment where you really felt like you made a difference today? And sharing from that place instead of from just the like, well, I managed to get to Costco and I managed to get all the kids bathed before bed and, like that kind of ticking things off a list. But the moment I felt closest to God, the thing that I learned today and the thing that felt like I made impact is a much cooler, deeper share.
I love it so much. I'm also married to an engineer. I feel like we have so many similarities. I feel the questioning, that's some part of the time is like, what'd you do? And like all the questions about what'd you do with your business? How was your time spent? Can you give me a list of exactly.
Yeah. And my engineer husband and I are now divorced and really happily divorced. Like we're good friends. We've been good co-parents. Like it's a good one. But it's that my kids, I like that my kids have both sides. They have this like very intuitive, creative mom. They have this really grounded engineer dad. It's but we have to then bridge the gap and learn how to communicate with each other.
Figuring that all out.
Yeah.
So number 4 leads us into success, because especially as women, first I would like to know your definition of success, because I think some of us are skewed on our definitions. And then how do you celebrate your successes?
Okay, so my definition of success is actually a soul-centered one. So I feel successful when I know that I'm doing what my soul came here to do. And I celebrate my successes by relaxing. Like by relaxing by the pond. I have this beautiful swimming pond. And I just like talk to my guides. I talk to the trees and I just feel the gratitude for the whatever we're experiencing, that I'm like, yeah, I think I'm really doing what my soul came here to do. Because sometimes that's really palpable and sometimes it's not. But for me, that's real success.
I love that so much. I'm going to be using that one.
Cool.
And then number 5 kind of leads us into the kid aspect of how do we help our kids find that genius in them?
Listen, kids, especially before they're 7, they remember their past lives. They know very clearly who they are, what's spiritual, like spiritually, and listening to them when they're little and not telling them, oh, that's so silly, or that's just your imagination, or, don't stop being so silly, like to really raise them to be an adult who has a magical child inside, alive and well. That's kind of what I really recommend, what I tried to do.
So on that note, tell everyone how they can get a hold of you. And then also, what is your final takeaway for everyone?
Cool. Yeah. Well, you guys come and take the soul gift quiz, like learn which of the soul gifts you are. It's at soulgiftquiz.com, SOUL giftquiz.com. And that'll open a conversation. And then you can feel free to email me back from any of the emails you get if you choose to give me your email in that process. And yeah, I guess my takeaway is that we, all of us, moms and kids and everybody, are uniquely special. And that knowing that and putting words to that really helps us to be successful, to do what our soul came here to do.
Well, thank you so much, Mellissa, for joining us today. I'm so excited that you were here and tell us so much about getting into our souls and just listening to them. I mean, the more we listen to ourselves and the people around us and closing our mouths and really taking that in, I think that's so key. And thank you all for joining us on the Mama Genius Hub. We'll see you next time. Before we wrap up, here are some key takeaways to remember from today's podcast with Mellissa Seaman. Number 1, Know your unique gifts. Take the soul gift quiz to understand your core strengths and how they align with your life's purpose. Number 2, differentiate between types of support. Understand whether you need a coach, mentor, or teacher based on your current goals and challenges. Number 3, communicate your needs. When you understand your core gift, you can better explain your needs to your family and support system. Number 4, embrace your intuitive gifts. Recognize and nurture your intuitive abilities, even if they seem outside the box of your previous experiences. Number 5, seek the right guidance. Find mentors and teachers who can help you align your spiritual and practical life, integrating your unique gifts into your business and personal endeavors. These actionable steps can help you align with your inner genius and navigate your journey as a mom and entrepreneur more effectively. Thank you for joining us in today's episode of the Mama Genius Hub podcast. If you found value in our conversation, please share this episode with another mama who might benefit. Sharing helps us build a supportive community and reach out to more mamas like you. After all, it's more fun when we do motherhood together. Until next time, stay motivated and continue to pursue your dreams as you shine in your genius.